One CEO just told the entire EV industry the truth, and it cost him $15.7 billion. Honda killed every electric vehicle it was building. 3 flagship models dead before a single customer ever drove one. Their first annual operating loss in nearly 70 years. And you want to know the wild part? The stock went up. Because what is happening to the EV market right now goes way beyond Honda. Billion-dollar factories that never built a car. Dealer lots where electric trucks sit for 5 months straight. The whole thing is coming apart. So what did Honda's CEO figure out that Ford, GM, and every EV startup are still pretending they have not? On March 12, 2026, Honda walked into a press briefing in Tokyo and did something no other legacy automaker has had the nerve to do. They killed every ground-up electric vehicle in their pipeline. The Zero SUV, which was supposed to be Honda's global EV flagship launching out of North America, dead. The Zero Saloon, Honda's answer to the Tesla Model 3, dead. And the Acura RSX, the luxury electric crossover that had just been unveiled at Pebble Beach, dead. Not one of these vehicles ever made it off a factory floor. Honda disclosed write-offs of up to 2.5 trillion yen across factories, tooling, battery partnerships, and software development. CEO Toshihiro Mibe and Executive Vice President Noriya Kaihara voluntarily gave up 30% of their pay for 3 months. Other executives forfeited 20 to 30%. Board members lost their performance bonuses entirely. 2 weeks later, Sony Honda Mobility killed the $89,900 Afeela sedan that was built on the same Honda EV platform. That car was supposed to launch with Level 3 autonomous driving and tech that would compete with Tesla's software. Gone. The 3.5-year joint venture quietly unwound, and about 400 employees were sent back to Sony and Honda. 3 years of engineering, hundreds of millions in development costs, and a car that was supposed to redefine what a Japanese luxury EV could be. All of it dead in a single press release. When the full fiscal year results came out in May, the operating loss landed at 414.3 billion yen, $2.63 billion. Honda's first annual loss in nearly 70 years as a publicly traded company. But here's the number that changes the whole story. Revenue actually grew 0.5% to over 21 trillion yen. The Civic was still selling. The CR-V was still selling. The Accord was still selling. Every gas and hybrid car Honda makes was doing exactly what it has always done, moving off lots and putting money in the bank. The only thing bleeding was the electric vehicle bet. And once the market understood that, everything flipped. Honda pledged at least 800 billion yen in shareholder returns over the next 3 years. The stock hit a 2-month high and closed up 3.8% the day the loss was announced. Karl Brauer at IC Cars said the canceled EVs point to a business model that does not make sense and was only ever going to be executed to satisfy regulatory requirements. Edmunds said Honda is smart to shift to hybrids, even though it comes with a major financial loss. Investors did not punish the biggest write-off in Honda's history. They rewarded the CEO for being the first person in the auto industry to tell the truth.
But Honda is not the only EV plan that just fell apart. And this next part is the one almost nobody in America is talking about. Because an entire country just watched its electric vehicle industrial strategy collapse in real time. And the receipts are brutal. April 2024, a stage inside Honda's Alliston assembly plant in Ontario, Canada. Honda's global CEO stands alongside 2 levels of Canadian government. They announce 15 billion Canadian dollars, 4 new plants, including a vehicle assembly facility, a standalone battery plant, a cathode processing joint venture, and a battery separator plant. Canada's first complete electric vehicle supply chain, from raw minerals all the way to finished vehicles rolling off the production line by 2028. Up to 5 billion of it backed by Canadian taxpayers, split evenly between the federal government and the province. 1,000 brand new manufacturing jobs on top of the 4,200 workers already at that plant building Civics and CR-Vs. The politicians called it historic. They called it proof that Canada could lead the global EV transition. Honda's CEO called it the company's largest investment in North American history. Here is what that $15 billion plan actually produced. Not a single plant, not a single battery cell,
Not one of the 1,000 promised jobs. Zero. The entire thing existed as a press conference and a handshake. 13 months after the announcement, in May of 2025, Honda paused the entire project, blamed tariff uncertainty and the EV market slowing down. Then, in May of 2026, while standing in Tokyo announcing the worst financial results in Honda's history, Mibe made it official. The suspension was indefinite. The biggest EV investment in Canadian history was dead. Not delayed, not restructured, just dead. And the government's response is the part that really tells you everything you need to know. Ontario pointed out that no public money was ever actually transferred. They called that the good news. Think about that for a second. The defense of the most ambitious EV industrial policy in the country's history is that it never got far enough to waste the $5 billion they had set aside for it. That is like bragging that you did not lose money at the casino because you never made it past the parking lot. A professor at McMaster University and former auto executive named Greg Moore put it on the record. He called the outcomes of Canada's EV subsidy strategy calamitous. That is not a talking head on YouTube. That is an industry insider using the word calamitous about his own country's industrial policy. And if you think Honda's dead factory is the only one, you are about to be very disappointed. Because while everyone was focused on the Alliston headlines, 2 more automakers were quietly pulling the exact same move in 2 more Ontario towns. And the pattern they reveal is even uglier than the Honda story. Stellantis, the company behind Jeep, Ram, Dodge, and Chrysler, had been retooling its Brampton, Ontario assembly plant to build the next-generation Jeep Compass. The plant had been idle since 2023. 3,000 unionized workers sent home, told the shutdown was temporary, told the retooling would bring new models and a new future. The Canadian government had backed Stellantis with more than $529 million in federal subsidies as part of a $3.6 billion provincial commitment that required the company to keep production running in Brampton through December of 2035. That is not a handshake deal. That is a signed agreement with a government. And Stellantis had previously given written reassurance to both the province and the federal government that they were absolutely committed to the Brampton plant.
Then, in February of 2025, the retooling stopped. Tariff threats, Stellantis said, and on October 15th, the real news dropped. Stellantis unveiled a $13 billion plan to expand American production, the single largest investment in the company's history. $600 million of it reopening a plant in Belvidere, Illinois. And the vehicle Belvidere will build is the Jeep Compass. The exact product Brampton spent 2 years getting ready for. Same car, same company, different country. 3,300 new jobs in Illinois. 3,000 families in Brampton left staring at a dark factory and no timeline. Governor Pritzker in Illinois called it a major win for American workers. The union in Brampton said their jobs were being sacrificed. The Canadian Prime Minister said he expected Stellantis to fulfill its commitments. The Brampton plant is still dark today, and Stellantis has not made a single public commitment about when or whether it will ever reopen. That is one town. But it gets worse, because GM was pulling the exact same move just down the highway. On February 2nd of 2026, GM cut the 3rd shift at its Oshawa assembly plant. The plant builds the Chevy Silverado. About 500 workers laid off in a single day. A parts supplier inside the same facility, TFT Global, terminated another 245 people in the same wave. Oshawa's unemployment rate climbed to 9%, the second worst in the entire country. Only Windsor was higher at nearly 10%. And while those Oshawa workers were walking out the gate for the last time, GM was ramping up Silverado production at its Fort Wayne, Indiana plant. Same truck, same company, same assembly process, different country. The union said GM was caving to pressure from Washington and making Canadian workers pay for it. GM said it was an operational decision. Either way, the trucks kept getting built, just not by the people who had been building them. And then there is Ingersoll. This one might be the most telling of all. The Cami plant there used to employ about 3,000 people building the Chevy Equinox.
It was a healthy plant, building a car people actually wanted. Then GM took it, poured in hundreds of millions of dollars in government-backed retooling money, and converted the entire operation to build BrightDrop electric delivery vans. The BrightDrop was supposed to be the future of commercial fleet vehicles. FedEx was lined up as the launch customer. The Ontario government was celebrating. And then, the orders never came. The vans barely sold. Workers were put on rotating layoffs, working 2 weeks on and 4 weeks off for months at a time. By October of 2025, GM pulled the plug on BrightDrop production entirely. Over 1,000 workers gone. The plant that was supposed to prove electric vehicle manufacturing could work in Ontario became the clearest example in the world of what happens when you gut a profitable factory to build a product nobody is ordering. It is like tearing down a restaurant that was packed every night to build one that serves food nobody wants to eat. 3 Ontario towns, 3 dead EV bets. Billions in subsidies that either went unspent or funded factories that are now sitting empty. And one pattern that keeps repeating. The EV infrastructure that governments poured money into is not producing vehicles. It is producing press releases and pink slips. But the collapse is not just playing out in Canada. The exact same thing is happening on dealer lots all across America. And the reason is dead simple. The second the government stopped paying people to buy EVs, the buyers disappeared. The federal EV tax credit was $7,500 on a new vehicle and $4,000 on a used one. It was supposed to run through 2032. Then the one big beautiful bill killed it. The credit expired September 30th, 2025. No phase-out, no transition period, just over.
Before the deadline, buyers rushed in to grab the deal while it lasted. The third quarter of 2025 hit 10.6% market share. Record numbers. Looked like the EV tipping point had finally arrived. Then the credit died, and the floor vanished. Fourth quarter sales collapsed 36% year-over-year and 46% quarter-over-quarter. First quarter of 2026 dropped another 27% to just 216,000 units. Market share fell to 5.8%. That is nearly half of what it was just 2 quarters earlier. EV inventory ballooned to 130 days of supply, which is 46% higher than gas cars, according to Cox Automotive. Ed Kim at Auto Pacific started forecasting the first annual decline in EV market share since 2011. And on top of the dead credit, the California Advanced Clean Cars 2 mandate was revoked in June of 2025, killing EV sales requirements in 17 states plus Washington, D.C. The 2 pillars holding the entire EV market up, the subsidies and the mandates, both got knocked out in 9 months. Honestly, if $7,500 in free government money is the only thing keeping your product alive, maybe what you have is not a product. Maybe what you have is a policy, and policies get canceled. The EV market did not shrink because of bad marketing or poor timing. It shrunk because the artificial support system was removed and the organic demand that was supposed to be underneath it was never there. You can see exactly what that means on every dealer lot in the country. The GMC Sierra EV is sitting on lots for over 160 days before someone finally buys one. 160 days. The national average for used vehicles is under 59 days. That means GM's electric truck is sitting on the lot nearly 3 times longer than a normal car. The Cadillac Escalade IQ, the Chevy Blazer EV, the Hummer EV, all parked and depreciating while the gas versions of those same trucks move just fine. Used EV prices dropped 10.3% year-over-year in the first quarter of 2026. Hybrids only dropped 1.4%, gas cars 2.8%. The gap between how fast EVs lose value and how fast everything else does is getting wider every quarter, and it is about to get a lot uglier. Because over 300,000 off-lease EVs are flooding the used market this year, more than double what came back in 2025. That wave is going to crush whatever resale value is left.
A Volkswagen dealer in Denver was leasing the ID.4 for $40 a month earlier this year and called the deal absurd. But that is what it takes when nobody walks in asking for the product. In Automotive News' 2026 Dealer Outlook survey, more than half of all dealers said they had recovered none of their EV infrastructure investment. Imagine being a small business owner who put $200,000 of your own money into charging stations and service equipment because the manufacturer told you electric was the future. Now the tax credit is dead, the mandates are gone, and your most expensive inventory is parked out back, depreciating, while used Tacomas and Silverados fly off the front of the lot. That is not a tough quarter. That is a dealer getting left holding the bag for a transition that never came. And this is exactly what Honda was looking at when the CEO made his call. Dead EV factories stretching across Ontario, billions in government subsidies that produced nothing, a tax credit that vanished overnight, mandates that got revoked, and dealer lots from Denver to Detroit full of electric trucks that nobody is walking in to buy. Honda looked at the entire picture, the global picture, not just one bad quarter or one slow model, and did the one thing nobody else in the auto industry has had the courage to do. He said out loud that this does not work, and pivoted to what does.
Honda is launching 15 next-generation hybrid models starting in 2027. The sales target is 2.2 million hybrids per year by 2030, up from 868,000 in 2024. That is not a modest tweak. That is Honda betting its entire future on the one powertrain technology that customers are actually choosing right now. They are building an entirely new hybrid platform that cuts production costs by more than 50% compared to their older systems. A large vehicle hybrid drivetrain is coming specifically for SUVs and trucks, targeting 30% better fuel efficiency than comparable gas-only models. They are even stretching the life cycles of their biggest sellers, the Accord, the Odyssey, the HR-V, to free up engineering resources for the hybrid push. At the Alliston plant right now, more than 60% of all Civic and CR-V production is already hybrid. Industry analyst Brendan Sweeney said Honda and Toyota hybrids are flying off the shelves. Flying off the shelves. While EVs sit on lots for 5 months. That is not a comparison. That is a verdict, and the man who has been saying this louder and longer than anyone just got proven right. Toyota chairman Akio Toyoda argued for years that EVs would cap out at about 30% of the global market and that hybrids, hydrogen, and cleaner combustion engines would always be the smarter bet. He said Toyota's 27 million hybrids sold worldwide had the same environmental impact as 9 million full battery EVs on the road. The man got called a dinosaur for half a decade. Turns out the dinosaur had better math than every EV startup that raised billions on a pitch deck and a promise. Call me old-fashioned, but I think a CEO who stops building cars nobody is buying and pivots to cars that are flying off dealer lots is not making a mistake. He is making the first honest decision any automaker has made in years, and the rest of the industry is proving Honda right every single quarter. Ford took a $19.5 billion write-down in the fourth quarter of 2025 and killed the battery Lightning pickup. That is Ford admitting that its most iconic nameplate does not work as an electric truck. GM booked $7.6 to $7.9 billion in EV-related charges across 2025. Their own filing blamed the end of tax incentives and reduced emissions rules. Stellantis wrote down $26 billion, the largest EV loss of any of the big three. Volkswagen killed the ID.4 in America after selling just 248 in the entire fourth quarter of 2025. 248. In a country of 330 million people. VW's own brand CEO called them not true Volkswagens. And the Jeep Wagoneer S, which was supposed to be Stellantis' big electric SUV, moved 175 units in the first quarter of 2026, down 93% year over year. That is not a slow quarter. That is a product nobody asked for. Every automaker that went all in on EVs is either writing off billions, shutting down production lines, or quietly shifting those lines back to gas and hybrid vehicles. Honda just said what every boardroom in Detroit and Tokyo has been whispering for the last 12 months. The math does not work.
It has never worked without government life support, and now the life support is gone. Honda stopped pretending, and the market said, thank you. Honda's first next-generation hybrid hits showrooms in 2027. Subscribe so you are here when the sales numbers prove them right.